Do not mistake my silence for lack of grief. Mourn how you wish. Leave me to my own.
Kratos, son of Zeus, the Ghost of Sparta. The man responsible for killing all the gods and destroying life in Greece. He did it all to avenge the grudges he held against the gods. He turned into a ruthless individual because of it. And now, he tries to escape from his past self. But why? How did this happen? What philosophy does Kratos hold? Kratos was born and raised in ancient Sparta, a city-state in ancient Greece renowned for its brutal military. Young Spartans were trained to protect themselves, fight, and kill. If they were deemed unfit for battle, they were abandoned on a mountain and forced to survive. Kratos, an illegitimate child of Zeus, began his journey in Greek mythology as the Ghost of Sparta. He was a Spartan warrior, trained for combat since he was just 8 years old. Kratos often trained with his brother, Deimos, who bore tattoos across his body. Kratos trained his brother harshly as an expression of his love. He wanted to expose his brother to hellish conditions to prepare him to become the best warrior. At that time, Zeus learned of a prophecy about one of his children with a marked or tattooed body who would kill all the gods, including him. He ordered his children to find the tattooed child, who turned out to be Deimos, Kratos' brother. Ares and Athena eventually kidnapped Kratos' brother. Losing his brother left a deep scar in Kratos' heart. This is where Kratos developed his cruel nature. He saw how the gods, with their immense power, could easily take his brother away from him. Here, he vowed to himself to become strong, and swore never to lose a fight again. To honor his brother, he tattooed his own body to match his brother's markings. Later, he would defy every word of the gods of Olympus to find his brother. He eventually found him in hell and tried his hardest not to fight him. Kratos managed to save and reunite with his brother. Here, he resolved never to lose his brother again. But their reunion was short-lived, as during a battle against Thanatos, the god of death, his brother lost his life. His brother, whom he honored and fought so hard to reunite with, died because of him. He believed this was his fault, but he also thought that if the gods hadn't taken his brother in the first place, if the gods hadn't been so fearful of the prophecy, his brother wouldn't have suffered this fate, and he wouldn't have suffered either. Kratos blamed the gods for the loss he felt. Here, he sought to avenge his grievances and unleash all his rage upon the gods. This event is believed to be the reason why Kratos became a far more ruthless and destructive individual, willing to kill anyone in his way, even the innocent. Not long after this traumatic event, he heard news of his mother and learned that she had transformed into a monstrous beast, forcing Kratos to kill her. In a short time, he lost the only remaining family he had. All this happened because of the actions of the gods and their demands, which caused him suffering, whether intentionally or not. However, Kratos' greatest loss was not this. It happened earlier, the event that earned him the title of the Ghost of Sparta. Once, when Kratos served as a Spartan general, he won many brutal battles against other forces. However, his arrogance and thirst for power grew with every victory he achieved. One day, he was outnumbered and outmatched. Desperate to save his life and unwilling to accept defeat, Kratos called upon Ares, the god of war, to help him win the battle, offering his servitude in return. Ares accepted his offer, killed all of Kratos' enemies, and gifted him the blades of chaos as a symbol of his servitude. With them, Kratos swiftly killed the enemy leader and won the battle. For a time, Kratos served Ares faithfully, raiding villages, slaughtering the innocent, and spreading chaos in his name. Under the influence of the god of war, Kratos became extremely ruthless, and it was here that he began to lose his humanity. One day, during a raid on a village of Athena's followers, Ares secretly relocated Lysandra and Calliope, Kratos' wife and daughter, to a nearby temple. In his blind rage, Kratos entered the temple and slaughtered everyone inside, including his wife and child. The anger and vengeful spirit he developed from losing his brother led him to face the greatest loss of his life. The cruelty he had cultivated caused him to unknowingly kill his own wife and child. Yet he, as before, blamed the gods for his loss. Ares admitted his actions, justifying them as a means to sever Kratos' last ties to the human world, thus forging him into the perfect warrior. Overwhelmed by the horror and sorrow of what he had done, Kratos left his family's bodies to burn in the temple and renounced his loyalty to Ares, the god of war. Here, the oracle, who had earlier forbidden Kratos from entering and slaughtering the people, cursed him to forever wear the ashes of his deceased family on his skin. This turned his body white like a ghost and gave him the title Ghost of Sparta. As the series progressed, Kratos became increasingly disillusioned and angry at the treatment he received from the Olympian gods, especially during his service to them. This filled him with hatred and made him indifferent to the lives of others. By dealing with monsters, he became a monster himself. Kratos didn't only suffer from this during his lifetime. When he broke his oath, Ares ordered the Furies to hunt the Ghost of Sparta, Kratos, and force him to serve the god of war again. Kratos was imprisoned and tortured for 2 weeks. During this torture and his journey afterward, he was constantly engulfed in illusions, forcing him to relive the deaths of his wife and child repeatedly. He once pleaded with the gods to free him from his nightmares, but they refused, leading him to attempt suicide. He could not endure the pain caused by these visions. Even during his suicide attempts, those visions continued to haunt him, tormenting Kratos. He was forever cursed to be reminded of his horrific deeds and sins, along with all the suffering he endured. Kratos never appeared happy throughout the entire series. He was endlessly tormented and felt nothing but suffering at every step. Even later, 200 years later in the Norse realm, memories of his past continued to haunt him. We never truly know if the nightmares of his past disappeared. It's possible they still persist. During God of War III, Kratos was so blinded by his obsession with killing Zeus that he failed to realize, or perhaps didn't care, that he was destroying all of Greece in his quest for revenge. He ignored the warnings of Athena, Poseidon, Hera, and even Zeus himself, who cautioned that the deaths of the gods would bring about the end of life in the Greek world. The gods, fearful of the prophecy about a marked child who would kill them, ended up creating another marked child who fulfilled the prophecy. Kratos killed all the gods and destroyed Greece because of it. Throughout his story in Greek mythology, Kratos transformed from someone who deeply loved his family to someone cruel due to their loss. Enraged and vengeful toward the monster that took them from him, Kratos, in the process, became that monster himself. Ruthless and devoid of feelings, he wouldn't hesitate to kill innocent people if they stood in the way of his goals. After many years, we now see Kratos burying his wife, Faye, with his son, Atreus. Kratos has become a colder and calmer man. His change didn't happen suddenly. He had to change for his son. He tries to teach Atreus not to be swayed by his emotions while keeping his own emotions in check. He cannot call Atreus son because he is still hiding his past from him. He fears that if Atreus finds out, he will see Kratos as a monster and a hypocrite for teaching principles opposite to his own past. Kratos has changed, but he is still hiding from himself, trying to forget the mistakes he made. Although Kratos' lessons come from experience, the real reason he teaches them is his fear that Atreus might hate him, or worse, that Atreus might become like him. Kratos still believes that no god is good, whether Greek or Norse. He feels that because he and Atreus are gods, they must be better than the existing gods. They must be better parents and children, better people. They must end the cycle of selfish gods who deceive, punish, and exploit others. The cycle of gods who hate and kill their own families. When Baldur tried to kill his mother, Freya, Kratos immediately intervened and killed Baldur. This was a decision Kratos made to stop the cycle and initiate change. Whether it was Baldur killing Freya or Kratos killing Zeus, he knows the next step would likely be Atreus killing him. He is fully aware of this cycle because of everything he has been through in his past. He understands the destruction that anger and hatred can create. Present day, Kratos feels that, as a god, he has a duty to bring peace to a land on the verge of Ragnarok, the apocalypse. When Kratos arrives at his wife's home in Jotunheim, he removes the bandages that covered his scars from the past. At that moment, he begins to fully accept himself. As the bandages are carried away by the wind, Kratos lets go of his fear of the past and embraces it completely. Kratos started his story filled with anger and rage, consumed by vengeance and cruelty, knowing only war and victory. He lost his humanity. Now, he is trying to reclaim that humanity alongside his son. Even though his mind has deceived him all these years, Kratos accepts his mistakes and has come to terms with his past. He finally tells his son who he truly is, admitting that he is far from perfect. Kratos urges Atreus not to repeat his mistakes. He asks Atreus to join him on the path of peace, the path Faye wanted for both of them. Kratos has accepted his sins and is now trying to live a better life for his son. He has embraced his past and is working to create a better future for himself and Atreus. Because that is what truly matters. We may sympathize with Kratos' cruel actions because they stemmed from the pain of his loss. However, revenge is wrong and only leads to more loss for oneself. As a result, Kratos became a monster. Yet, with his new family, he strives not to repeat the same mistakes. He is trying not to become who he once was. While Kratos may not be a good man, at least he is trying to change.